You're dialed in to the Dealer Playbook Podcast, where it's all about winning auto dealer strategies that deliver proven results. And now your hosts, Robert Weissman and Michael Cirillo.
Hey there, and thank you for listening to the Dealer Playbook Podcast, episode 34. My name's Michael Cirillo. I'm joined by, y'all know him, Robert Weissman. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, what's going on? Michael, welcome back.
Thanks, man. Couple of weeks away, family vacay to SoCal. I'll tell you what, it's a heck of a lot warmer down there than it is up here in cold Canada. Yeah. But you know what? It was good, much needed. Thanks, guys, for listening in to the show while we were away. Had some good feedback, so we appreciate you stopping by every single week. We're talking to the who's who in and out of the automotive industry to give you actionable insights that deliver results. Today, you're going to find that same thing. We're sitting down with Chris Walsh. He's the founder and managing partner of VetCars, which you'll hear him talk about a little bit near the end of the episode, so stick around for that. Chris is a great guy. He's an Air Force vet and, very passionate about, creating a culture of, customer satisfaction, but also of employee satisfaction.
He's been around the business for some time.
Been around the business. I think, he said he took his first up in 84, so I was a whopping 2 years old.
He's like the grandfather I've never had, this guy.
There you go. The grandfather he's never had, but just has some very valuable information for those of you listening in. So without further ado, let's just jump into our sit down with Chris Walsh.
Here we go.
And we are here with Mr. Chris Walsh. He's the founder and managing partner at VetCars, a company and a program that I really like. It's all about market segmentation and offering programs to our veterans who serve our country and provide the freedoms that we enjoy. Chris, so glad to have you on the show. Thanks for being here today.
Hey, Michael. Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a privilege.
Absolutely. And you know what? We've had the opportunity to meet each other in person a few times, at conferences and such, and I've had the privilege of listening to you speak. I think the first time that I heard you speak was at an Internet Sales 20 group in Atlantic City. And it was funny because you got up and you started saying, "Hey guys, this isn't what I do." You almost took this like humble approach, and then of course knocked your presentation out of the park. And I was like, "What was he talking about? He's a pro." Well, he's an absolute pro.
You're too kind.
Yeah, I think you might have it confused with somebody else, Michael.
No, I was like, okay. Well, seriously, in all honesty, at first I was like, oh man, here we go. Don't ever tell people that you don't know what you're doing or whatever. And then you were like, boom, 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 boom. It was like power bombs all over the place, and I was like, here we go. This guy's knows what he's doing.
He's like,
it's always good to lower your audience's expectations.
Yeah, there you go.
No, for those in your audience who have ever spoken publicly, up until about an hour before you get up in front of the room, you've got your program knocked, you've got it outlined, you've got it bullet pointed, and you stand up there, and all of a sudden you just, your knees turn to jelly, and you're just winging it.
Mouth dries out.
I will never rehearse another speech again.
Yeah, there you go. Fair enough. And sometimes we do better off the cuff. There you go. That's when Robert's going to duck out next time. Anyways, so some of the stuff that you talk about is very, very intriguing. A lot about customer care. The title of the presentation that we were talking about pre-show was Creating a Culture of Customer Care. And, you had mentioned that, that could be pretty vague and broad of a topic to discuss, but, it's I think, a hot topic. We've had a couple of past episodes talking about creating a culture inside the dealership that is conducive to, selling more vehicles, selling more F&I products, services, whatever it might be. But I want to get your take on this. When you say creating a culture of customer care, what's the starting point for you? How are you basing this culture? What's the foundation of this culture?
Well, I'm going to take you all back to 1997, when the very first car was sold on the internet. And many of us, I'm an old timer. I was doing F&I in a Chrysler Plymouth dealership back then. That's how far back this was. And many of us in the business were like, this is going to change the entire paradigm. It's going to change the industry. There's going to be no need for brick and mortar dealerships. There certainly is not going to be any need for salespeople. There really was an attitude for about a year there where, it was like the Chicken Little, the sky is falling. Why are we even doing this? Heck, it was even, a lead story in Automotive News a couple of times. Well, I think now we fast forward to 2014, that has not come true. Yes, the internet has changed the way people research and purchase vehicles. It's given people more information than they've ever had before. But what it's really done is fortified the need for a good, solid handshake to handshake, human being to human being interaction. Because with almost 16,000 franchised rooftops from sea to shining sea, consumers can go just about anywhere they want. They know what a car costs. They know what other consumers have paid for vehicles, what payments should be based on their credit. They come into your showroom fully armed with all of the dry data that they need to make an intelligent decision.
Right.
Now, they've walked into your showroom because they have made a decision based on your internet presence, your presence in your community, some of your marketing and awareness
Referral.
efforts. They've come into your showroom because they pretty much have said, I think this is one of the dealers I want to attempt to give my business to. They've already made up their mind. So at that point, when someone is about to spend $32,750, which, by the way, was the average selling price of a car in the United States in 2013, it is yours to lose. So the whole idea of culture of customer care starts with the internet and BDC departments making those first attempts, when people first get a hold of us, making them feel special. I detest the robo responses. In some of my presentations, I make the joke that you can email ABC Motors and say, there is a bomb in your parts department set to go off at 6 tonight. 6 minutes later, you get an email back. Thank you for your interest in the Toyota Camry. One of our dedicated sales associates will be contacting you soon, and it is our goal to exceed your expectations. And unfortunately, we've taken the path of least resistance with those first contacts, be they telephonic or via the internet. So I always felt that creating a culture of customer care, and let me throw in another C, control, starts with the very first interaction you have with a customer. Now I'm going to take a breath. Your turn.
Well, it's all about the engagement, where, how, when, the right way.
Well, and I like what we're talking about here because, I, for me, this is my own opinion, and it's yours too, because you just shared it with us, that, the customer qualifies themselves to varying degrees, and that's what actually leads them to your dealership.
Correction, that's not an opinion. That is an absolute fact.
There it is. Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to be humble.
Modest,
I was trying to be
yeah. When you speak the facts, speak the facts.
There they are. I just got reprimanded on
Sorry,
real-time podcast.
But he's just
you know what I mean though. So what you're saying here really resonates, and I think those of you listening in will agree with what Chris is saying. Your customers, we believe it, but for some reason I feel like we forget it. It's when the customer comes through the door, we somehow think that this is the first place they've come. They haven't done any research online. They're just looking at prices and all those sorts of things. But it's
scratch.
Yeah, they're starting from scratch. But the reality of it is, like you said, Chris, they've already qualified themselves. They know the prices of vehicles. They know how vehicle sales work. It's very rare that somebody hasn't purchased a vehicle or purchased products and services from a dealership at some point or another, or at least been involved to some degree. And so,
if I may, Michael, quick,
sure.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And with the way that the web services today, though, that Okay, so we're always trained that when somebody comes into the showroom, like, listen, you test drive. I don't care if they test drove the car before. They don't want it. You're going to test drive. We're going to take them through our steps of the sale. Do you think that the steps of the sale still need to go in sequence and like that? Because let's say that, the web allows us to experience a lot of this and accomplish a lot of things that we had to at a dealership, which created the steps of the sale. Right. Now we can advance ourselves, the end user can advance themselves further, that they come in, if they're just ready to get down, they should be able to just like get down, go right into the, numbers.
We've all heard the statistics. Customers are on between 5 to 8 websites. They're shopping your competition. They're cross-brand shopping. But those same customers that are on 5 to 12 websites are only physically visiting 1.77 dealerships.
Okay, exactly. So that's less than 2. So they're accomplishing that same research. They're doing the same intel.
And that number is even less for millennials. So I think, and again, our business is changing not only daily, but in some cases hourly. Do you sit your customer down and say, how would you like this process to go? At what point in your research, in your cycle, are you? Because I don't want to be redundant. I want to respect your time. I certainly want to respect your intelligence and whatever level of research you've already accomplished to get to an understanding of the 2015 Rogue.
Really good point. Michael, let me ask you a question too. I want to hear your thought on this.
Sure.
Sorry, Chris, because this is where we're at. Sure. Do you feel that, that when somebody coming in to do that would work, like just coming in, hey, where are you at in this process? Oh, we've gotten to this. This is what we're looking to do right now.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I don't know about you guys, but I think from a sales perspective, there's no harm in qualifying that customer. I mean, I don't know if I'd use those words like, yo, dude, where you at?
Well, no,
but like diplomatically, having a nice polished,
absolutely.
like, hey, you know what? Just because we want to be able to help you, and
is it
insulting
is it insulting the intelligence to like be like, listen, we already did this. Okay, well, you're gonna do it again. Is that almost like insulting? Well,
here, guys, I think we are on a generational cusp in our business. We are sitting right now at a point where we have a lot of managers, and hey, I'm 56 years old. It's not like I'm talking like a millennial here. I mean, I took my very first up in 1984. So, I've seen the way the old way was done. And you know what? There's some good stuff about how, the steps to the sale, the road to the sale was accomplished back in the old days. But you have management and some ownership that will still say to a salesperson, if you don't demo them, you can follow them home. Well, I don't know. That type of rigidity in the sales process, when you have so much more of an enlightened and engaged consumer, can probably cost you, if not some deals, certainly some trust points with your customer. If you tell that customer, I got to do this or my manager's going to fire me.
Yeah, I mean, how frustrating is that to go through that?
Okay, so let me ask you, Chris, where does a dealership start? We've talked about up to this point, back to 1997, we thought the internet was going to change the way things happen with the first car sale online, all those sorts of things. We're finding that customers still base a lot of their purchase decision off of that human interaction, trust, credibility, all of those sorts of things. What can dealerships listening today start doing right now to, marry the experience that's being delivered online to the brick and mortar store so that they can increase opportunities to sell products and services?
Great question. I'm going to take you back again about a decade. I ran a Chevy store for an I have. I mean, life's
I'm enjoying these walks down memory lane. They're becoming my memories.
I ran a Chevy store for an absentee owner who was my mentor, and he has since passed. His name was Bob Newman. He was a fantastic guy, and he would spend about 2 months a year in the store. and the rest of the time he would be in Longboat Key, Florida, or Martha's Vineyard, and I would get 2 phone calls a week where we would fight like cats and dogs and then kiss and make up, and I'll call you Tuesday. Okay, Mr. Newman. We went out to lunch one day, and we're driving back in to the lot, and I'll never forget this. He pointed to the sign, the big gold bow tie with Newman Chevrolet, and he said, "My best employees are the ones that when they drive in the morning, they see their name up there, not mine." How do you get there? How do you take a team and give them mental ownership of the dealership? It's not easy, but every time you read studies about what motivates employees, whether or not they're in the our business or any business, monetary compensation is never the first or the second or sometimes even the third consideration when employees are surveyed. The number one consideration is always quality of life. The old way of doing things, if you don't work 65, 70 hours a week, you're not on this team. This is why our business has such a high incidence of divorce and alcoholism. We've beaten people like rented mules in this business. And I think that model has changed, especially with, some of the larger chains that have said, number one, we want family people. We want people who will give us their all for 40, 45 hours a week. That makes a difference. The number two reason that you see in a lot of these employment studies that make people happy and make them want to stay at their job is buy-in, that their performance and their opinion matters, that they feel that they are part of a team. The old way of doing things, it's my way or the highway, that doesn't cut it anymore. You have to take a group of people and say, whether you are the porter, the guy in the wash rack, the C-Tech, a salesman, F&I manager, sales manager, GM, or owner, we're all on the same team. And everybody's opinion matters. Everybody's input as well as output matters. And you have to live by that. I've seen dealerships turned on their ear when a salesman makes a suggestion that nobody ever thought of before. It's like that old anecdote about the truck that gets caught under the trestle, and the state police and the state road gang is there, and they can't figure out how to get this dump truck out from underneath this overpass. And a little kid comes by and says, "Why don't you let the air out of the tires?" And it's classic. We've all heard that. Right. So when everybody feels like their name is on that sign and the success or failure of that mission of that dealership is directly based on their attitude and their output, you are much more apt to see success. But it's got to be genuine. It's got to be compensated, and it doesn't always have to be monetarily compensated. To be able to let somebody work, if you want to work 40 hours a week, if you feel that that's what you can give me, and here are your goals, and here are your expectations, that's great. If you need 60 hours to accomplish those expectations and those goals, that's what it's going to take.
Okay, so speaking, sorry to cut you off there. So, I
was starting to ramble.
It brings up a good point, because this is something that I think, even in my own company, is something that I hopefully try to achieve, where the team, input matters, where we try and listen to everybody's opinion and reward them or express appreciation. For the dealer principal or manager listening in, what would you kind of prefaced this by saying, it's not easy to do. What would some of the hesitations be to go down this path, and some of the solutions? For example, I'm thinking of, creating this culture where, people have this mental ownership, but I could see a hesitation being like, oh, well, now they're not going to have any respect for authority. Or they're going to just say, no, it doesn't matter what you want as the boss anymore, because you told me to have mental ownership over what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean?
I guess that goes absolutely know what you mean. Chain and command, and basically, right?
Well, listen, I'm a military guy. There's always got to be a chain of command, but look at the Google business model. The whole idea of authority, everybody has authority at Google. You go out to Walnut Creek and everybody's voice matters. Yes, there is a chain of command. What causes the hesitancy to change?
Yeah.
Number one, the verbal hemlock. We've always done it this way.
Yeah.
My dad did it this way.
All we know.
It's all we know. Another thing that my old mentor used to say that always stuck with me was, you cannot have customer satisfaction without employee satisfaction. They go hand in hand and they feed off of each other and they grow off of each other. So to create a culture of customer care in a dealership, I'll go back to what I said before. Customers can walk into a store and sense unrest or low morale. Ours is one of the few businesses where, whether you're a salesperson or manager, you are expected to act like an executive, and you are compensated as such. But at the same time, you're out in the public eye. Everybody's office is right there on the showroom, so anybody can hear you on the phone with the bank. Just a real quick anecdote. I was in a pharmacy this morning. I was in a CVS picking up a prescription. And as you all know, when you go to a drugstore to get a prescription, it takes 20, 30 minutes for them to fill it, which I've never been able to figure out why. They're all labeled. Just, throw 20 pills in a bag and get me out of here.
We'll have you on our pharmacy podcast to discuss that.
Well, I'm wandering the aisles, and I already, read Cosmopolitan from the magazine rack, and I'm over by a back room, and I'm listening to two employees argue and talk about, apparently about the manager, and they're dropping F-bombs, and, this is a terrible place to work, and if he thinks I'm working Friday, he's got another thing coming, and they knew that they were literally 5-6 feet away from the public that was in this pharmacy, and it apparently didn't matter to them. And I thought to myself, have I ever done that? Do people in dealerships complain about their commission statement or about that customer with the bad credit or the one that gave them the bad dealer rater review out in public? That stuff's got to go in the back room. That's got to go in the lunchroom. For any manager to allow unrest to foment, anytime you sense anything going on your showroom floor, you got to get it out. You got to have a meeting. I know all of us on this call are members of Jim Ziegler's new Alpha Dog Tribe on Facebook, which is a fantastic group. And somebody posted this morning about how many meetings do you have a week? And there's always a reason for a meeting. Either it's a kill it or cure it deal meeting, deal review, or if you sense that there's an issue going on with a couple of your salespeople, you got to get the whole team in and together and sit down and tell the receptionist, you hold our phone calls for 15 minutes because we are brothers and sisters and we got to iron this stuff out before the next up is greeted on the lot. You can't let unrest and bad morale foment and ferment and grow. You will never get to a place where you can create a culture of customer care until you have a culture of employee care, and everybody on the team feels that they're empowered to help with the growth and success of that dealership.
Very good. Very good.
This has been so helpful. Chris, thank you so much for being on the show today. I know it kind of came together really quick, but we're so glad that that you could take the time for us today. This is such incredible information. I mean, I love what you said about you can't have customer satisfaction without employee satisfaction. And so for those of you listening in, if you're curious about what you can start doing today to improve the atmosphere of your dealership, to start seeing more productivity out of your team, Chris has brought up some really good points. Give them mental ownership. Of course, that goes, like we talked about, that goes with, making sure that there's a chain of command in place, right, Chris? And also having a process in
putting
place.
The fires out.
Yeah, putting the fires out. And I love what you said about, I think a lot of dealerships just say, okay, next Wednesday's our meeting for this. But I love what you said about just, having meetings as they are there. That obviously involves the management being more in tune and kind of not hiding in their offices, and just kind of keeping an eye out and observing what's going on, and just addressing, like you said, the unrest or low morale as it's happening before the next, up comes into the showroom or is greeted. Those are some things that you can start doing today. If you want more information, please don't hesitate. Visit us, www.thedealerplaybook.com/34. And Chris, how can those listening get in touch with you?
Well, my website is www.vets-cars.com. And my direct email is cwalsh@vets-cars.com. And I would love to hear from you. And just remember, this is the greatest business in the world, and we dedicate a huge portion of our lives to it. There's nothing like the car business. And
agreed.
There's just so much passion and talent out there.
Good thing everybody here's in it.
Yeah. There you go.
Right, Chris?
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, thanks for the trips down memory lane today, man. I appreciate it.
Now,
back to the 90s.
Just before we say goodbye, tell me a little bit, just 2-3 minutes about Vet Cars and what you guys are doing over there.
Vets Cars is an association of dealerships nationwide who we invite to be part of the association, who pledge to a code of conduct that we teach how to prospect, attract, capture, and most importantly, serve consumers who are members of the 45 million member military and veteran family. The military and consumer demographic is the largest demographic other than male versus female. About 1 out of every 4 or 5 people that walk into your showroom has a direct or family relationship to the military. And it's very, very important to these folks, to us, we are veteran owned and operated. I am an Air Force veteran, that our service is acknowledged, and that a clear, transparent, respectful experience is going to be offered on the showroom floor. We've got about 200 dealers in 31 states right now, and we feel that we make a real nice addition to a dealer's awareness efforts, and we can show you how to see some real incremental sales gains by becoming known as the go-to dealership for a vet-friendly experience in your market area.
Love it. Thank you so much, Chris. And again, if you guys want to learn more about what Chris is doing over at Vet Cars, as well as learn more about what we've talked about today, don't hesitate. www.thedealerplaybook.com/34. Chris, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Michael. God bless. Gentlemen, have a great day.
You too. Take care.
Later, Chris.
Bye-bye.
And there you have it. That was our friend Chris Walsh, again at Vets Cars. All the information, everything that he talked about, plus his social links, which he didn't mention. We'll put those in the show notes if you want to connect with him. Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, I that's a good point. I would absolutely recommend you get connected to Chris. You could tell just listening in that the guy just has so much information and knowledge, rolling around in his head. 30 years in the business, moving metal and all that kind of stuff. It gives him just a ton of experience, ton of insights. I could tell there was so much more that he could talk about. We kind of had to put the brakes on him a little bit, but you know what? Those make the easiest interviews because you never have to worry about which direction you're going to go. It goes without saying, you and I are big on culture and creating the right culture within the dealership. And like I said, I love what he said about, you can't have customer satisfaction without employee satisfaction. That was a big takeaway for me.
Yeah. And something else is just that the simple fact of, the number 2 reason that makes people happy is that having a say, having a voice. Well, just like asking for feedback, something that small, or asking their opinion is so easy, costs you nothing to do, but could increase morale, which would increase, productivity.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's where we leave it. Let's take this out, Robert. How do we get people in touch with us?
www.thedealerplaybook.com. All the links, everything will be in the show notes there for everything discussed in this session. Check out Michael where are you at Michael what's your Twitter?
At Michael A. Cirillo.
Yep. And at michaelacirillo.com, me at robertwiseman.com.
And your Twitter.
Anything to add? Oh yeah, my Twitter at yourhyundaiguy.com still.
I think that's it, man. Thanks so much for listening in. We'll talk to you next time.
Later.